Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamine Tapahaya. So we are actually entering a very important discussion, because normally when we talk about अवतार की बात जब बात करते हैं, भगवान की बात करते हैं, then we think that उनका कोई कहाँ किसी दिशा में कुछ भी कमतियां नहीं. We think that is perfect in every sense. जो मर्जी कर सकते हैं उनका, there is no any deficiency in any direction. So normally we think of, that is what's understanding of Bhagavan or God. So Ram, Krishna, Ramchandra, all that we think that they were every perfect in every sense. But in a very rare instance, I say, the way the life and the details of Sri Ramakrishna have been captured, abhi tak, to some extent, they were in the life of Sri Chaitanya. But then Sri Chaitanya is not so much, is always rather acknowledges Bhagwan ka param bhakt, bahut bada ek Mahapurush, was saint. So there's a very small sect, maybe they also consider him as God. But generally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as incarnation of God, that discussion we have not seen too much. But Sri Ramakrishna, already there is quite a bit of discussion whether he is God incarnate on earth and so on. So one advantage is, we have complete details of his life. पूरा बचपन से क्या क्या हुआ, and completely captured. क्योंकि जब शरत महाराज एक किताब लिखे हैं, then also many of the those who were associated with Sri Ramakrishna from boyhood, even they were alive. कमार में उस समय भी उनकी बचपन की समय जो रहा करते थे, उन लोग का भी साथ वो मुलाकात किए, बातचीत किया, प्रश्न पूछा. And also like someone like Hriday, who had lived constantly with him for several years, then Aladhari, Hajra, and the disciples themselves. So it's a very detailed, authentic account of Sri Ramakrishna's life. So इसी से क्या होता है? See, in whatever way we accept Sri Ramakrishna, उनका आप जैसे भी मानते हैं, but same time, when you see his later life, बाद में उनका जीवन में हम लोग जो देख पाते हैं, whether even without calling him as God, he was extraordinary, there is no doubt. वो असाधारण थी, इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है. Because just एक मुहूर्त में समाधि में चले जाते थे और किसी देह का समाधिस्थ हो गए. These people have seen very closely. Master Moshe was so stunned. सुना है पहले, ऐसा क्या समाधि क्या चीज है, देख पा रहे. He was seeing virtually in front of him someone going into samadhi, coming out of it. Mahendra Sarkar tried to touch his eyeballs, did touch with his finger, and he understood. It's a clear superconscious level or experience which is beyond the senses. वो पूरी तरह समझ पाए. So when you go backwards, बचपन में कैसे उन्होंने समय बिताया, what all happened? So obviously, when you read all that, the way Maharaj has discussed, that gives you a tremendous sense of hope. हम लोग सब अभी हमेशा ही खुद का कमतियां सोचते रहते हैं. I am like this, I am like this, I cannot do this, I am not pure, I am not devoted, is that. So you see that for everybody, if you make a sincere effort, it's possible to progress in spiritual life. आपका जितनी भी defects है, doesn't matter. So that at least from that perspective or that angle, these discussions are very, very useful. श्री महाराज बोल रहे हैं, when one studies human nature, it becomes obvious that the higher a person's mind rises, the more intense is the pain caused by subtle desires. No, अच्छा, नहीं है, यहाँ है. Based on the previous statements, some readers may conclude that avatars never have to struggle against the turbulent senses as we do. इंद्रियों के साथ जैसे हम लोग लड़ रहे हैं, अवतार आदि ऐसी महापुरुषों का लड़ने की कोई जरूरत नहीं. For them, it's an easy thing. That's what we think. Some may assume that the senses always remain under the avatar's control from their very birth, like calm and well-behaved children. उनका कोई भी समस्या नहीं है बचपन से, ऐसे सोचते हैं. And avatars can therefore easily lead their minds away from the sense objects of the world and towards the highest spiritual ideals. जैसे उन्होंने प्राप्त किया, तो उनको तो सहज है, सारे इंद्रिय आपका कंट्रोल में है, नियंत्रण में है. इसलिए कोई आपका, आप क्या है, जब कोई ऐसे कोई लोभनीय वस्तु हम लोग देखते हैं, व्हेन यू से सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट्स, आपकी इंद्रिय के ऊपर आपके कोई नियंत्रण नहीं है, इसलिए वो जाके जल्द से पकड़ लेते हैं. And then it troubles us. Then it gives rise to desires in the mind. मान लीजिए आपके सामने बहुत बड़ा एक प्लेट का रसगुल्ला रखा है. जैसे ही आपका आंख वहां जा रहे हैं, आपका जीवा में पानी आ रहा है, आप तुरंत उसका उठा के खाने की इच्छा आ रहा है मन में. So that leads to problems. Maybe it's not good for you, you're adapting, you're an elderly person, you can't have all that. But आप उसमें सामने देखा, जैसे चेयर की देख रहे हैं, माइक की देख रहे हैं, रसगुल्ला की देख रहे हैं, आपकी कोई प्रतिक्रिया ही नहीं है, कोई रिएक्शन ही नहीं है, then that will not attract you. So how is it possible? आपकी इंद्रिय के ऊपर इतनी संयम है, your eyes are under so much control, अब मन पहले बोल नहीं, उसका सिर्फ देख के तुम निकालो, don't get attracted, and immediately the eyes obey. मान लीजिए आप कितने आप दृश्य देखते हैं. Do all people behave the same way? Some people, they see the most beautiful persons, just normally they walk past. Some people, देखते ही रहते हैं, कौन है करके, because their minds are like that. So that is if the indriyas under control, no problem. So we think, the normal people think अवतार आदि का पहले से इंद्रिय के ऊपर इतना नियंत्रण है, कोई ऐसे भोग के वस्तु के प्रति मन ही नहीं जाता. सो साहस से वहां से उठा के भगवान की तरह ले पाते. दैट्स व्हाट वी थिंक. दे हैव नो प्रॉब्लम, दे हैव टू जस्ट विथड्रॉ द माइंड एंड टेक इट टुवर्ड्स गॉड. But he says, no, it is not so. We say in reply, that is not so. In that respect also, avatars act like human beings. They fight against the senses and move towards the goal after becoming victorious. उन लोग भी इंद्रियों के साथ लड़ते हैं, लड़के विजेता प्राप्त करके आगे बढ़ पा रहे, not otherwise. Anyone who has tried to learn even a little about the nature of the human mind must have observed that it contains infinite layers of desires, ranging from gross to subtler and the subtlest. If anyone, आप सब मन के बारे में सोचें तो आप सहज में जान पाएंगे कितना लेयर्स है, एक के ऊपर एक. कभी बहुत ही भौतिक है और ग्रॉस है, उसी से कोई सूक्ष्म है, उसमें भी फर्दर सूक्ष्म तरह जा सकते हैं. So there are various layers, gross and subtle. If you are somehow able to overcome one desire, another one will come forward to obstruct your path. A gross desire, a subtle one will arise. And when that one is, thus when you defeat a gross desire, subtle one will arise. When that one is defeated, a series of more subtle desires will challenge you. For example, if you renounce sex, desire for money will arise. When you refrain from indulging in sex and gold in a gross way, desires for beauty, name and fame, power and position, and so on will emerge. Or you may carefully rid yourself of worldly attachments, but then laziness, pramada, or a spell of infatuation in the guise of compassion will occupy your mind. No, all are so important. कोई सोच रहे है मेरा ऐसे कोई आई हैव नो अट्रैक्शन टुवर्ड्स द ऑपोजिट सेक्स, मेरा मन में थोड़ा पवित्रता है, देन पैसे के प्रति लालच बहुत हो जाए, पैसे भी इतना नहीं चाहिए, ठीक है, ऐसे कोई अट्रैक्शन भी नहीं है, देन नाम, यश, कीर्ति, ऐसा में बहुत है, क्षमता, पावर, पोजीशन, सब में मन भाग भाग के जाएगा. So somewhere or other it will keep on happening. So no one can say that, oh, I have conquered everything, I am free. No. There are so many, when you go deeper, you find there are more and more and more layers of desire waiting to come forward. And then he says, even if you don't have all this, suddenly they will not do anything. Simply they will be sleeping and wasting their time. Laziness, pramad. और इसे इवन कई बार ऐसे ही करते ना, मेरा इसीलिए मेरा करना है, आई एम सो कंपैशनेट टुवर्ड्स समबडी, टुवर्ड्स समथिंग, ये सब ऐसे मन का धोखा देगा. इट इज गॉट नथिंग टू, दैट्स व्हाई Guru Maharaj himself says somewhere, supposing some people, they come to the temple, they don't want to see the deity, they are busy distributing alms to beggars. अरे पहले भगवान का दर्शन करो, बाद में जो करना करो. So meaning thereby, the more important thing is to try to realize God. Don't allow yourself to be cheated by ideas, oh, I am very compassionate, I am so nice, so good to people. No, not necessary. You do. भगवान का सृष्टि वो खुद ही कर लेंगे. तुम्हारा कौन जिम्मेवारी दिया तुम ये सब करो करके. So the idea is, somewhere or other the mind wants to escape, because it is not easy to do intense sadhana. बैठना, इसके लिए शारीरिक, मानसिक हर तरीका एक नियंत्रण चाहिए, अंदर ही एक सहायता चाहिए. The body will not cooperate, the mind will not cooperate. बैठेंगे तो हजार दिशा में मन भटकता रहता है. 1 घंटा 2 घंटा बैठ के बस उठ के चले जाते हैं, घड़ी पे 2 घंटा हो गया, लेकिन कुछ भी नहीं हुआ असल में. So all these are all, as sadhakas, you must remember. The master described the inscrutable nature of the human mind. He always cautioned us to avoid the traps set by desires. In order to convince us in this regard, we would sometimes cite his example, how he had thought and acted during events in his own life. अपना जीवन में भी तो ऐसे नहीं, कभी कुछ नहीं हुआ. He suddenly felt that he must put on a good shawl. बहुत कीमती शाल में पहनूंगा और चांदी गुड़गुड़ा से तमक लेना. तो तुरंत जैसे ही मथुर बाबू के पास खबर आया तो पूरा आ गया. उस दिन का 1000 रुपया का दिक्कत शाल बोला, मैं उसमें पहना, व्यवहार किया, 1 सेकंड के अंदर, अरे इसके नाम शाल है, फेंक दिया. थूकने लगा, पैर से उसका दबाने लगा. तुरंत किसी को बोल के मथुर बाबू उठा के ले गया, क्योंकि नहीं तो 1000 रुपया का मीन्स अभी more than 1 lakh worth shawl would have been completely spoiled. इसलिए बोल रहा भाई, that hubble bubble थोड़ा टेस्ट किया, अभी इस तरह, अभी उस तरह, कई तरह. I tried in various ways to enjoy, sometimes from this side, from that side. Then इसके नाम चांदी का गुड़गुड़ा है, बस रख दिया, खत्म. Now the point is, I think this is where the subtle difference lies. In case of avatars and others, उनका मन में भी ऐसी वृत्ति उठती है. It comes, but एक बार थोड़ा ये हो जाए, जीवन भर ठाकुर का नाम ही लेना नहीं पड़ा, दोबारा जीवन में उच्चारण भी नहीं किया. He did not even speak a second time about a silver hubble bubble or about a shawl. It tasted once and for all, it is dead and gone. But in our case, the moment we taste, before it is finished, we want a second time. सुबह हुआ तो फिर शाम को, otherwise next day we want, the day after. So in our case, what happens? When you do something, what is inside gets ignited. See, actually, we all carry so much of samskaras, vasanas, etc. Supposing you are enjoying something for the first time, Mani, you're a person who has always been taking only shakahari. बोला अरे एक बार करो ना, एक बार टेस्ट करके देखो ना. हैदराबाद का बिरयानी बहुत फेमस है, ले गया आपका, बोला जबरदस्त, ले लिया, आपके अंदर जग गया. It was there lying dormant, which you had carried in several bursts. बस फ्रेंड्स बोला अरे आप छोड़ो तो मैं नहीं छोड़ता. If you want to give up, I like it so much, I will take it every day. So that is the danger. See, vasanas can never be satisfied. It's like pouring ghee to fire. So that is why for normal sadhakas, the advice given is मन ही मन विचार करके आप छोड़ दो उसको. Don't go into the physical level. At the mental level, to get rid of it completely, not to even think of it, not even allow any vritti to come, so all require tremendous sadhana. Initially, what are the generally how it happen? The grossest type of person who is almost like animal, वो पशु की तरह ही है, उसमें भी आप देखते हैं हर रोज में कितनी बलात्कार हुए, क्या है, they are all just like animals, like cats and dogs and other animals they behave. Then a little higher, they don't go so bad, but eating and drinking and making money and going spending lavishly like that. Then what is the still subtle level? Physically इतना नहीं है, लेकिन मन ही मन बहुत ही सोचता रहता है, always thinking about desires, how to fulfill and all that. To go even beyond that, even when the vritti rises in the mind, to completely cut it off, not allowing it to make a full manifestation. ये क्या है, आपका मन में थोड़ा एक रसगुल्ला का कुछ मन में आया, then you start thinking where it is made, where are all the good shops, how good taste it is, when was the last time I took it, how many pieces I can take together. You keep on thinking about it, and simply the mind is again and again reverberating, rolling in that desire, mud of desire. That is, but then the better thing is, the moment the vritti comes, immediately it is smashed. Done. No thinking about Rasagula. Faltu hai. And then still a higher thing is, the vritti itself does not arise. The mind, there's no such vritti of desire. So all these are all, or progressively through sadhana only one can reach. See, in our case, just in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, because he had no desire at all. Rarely, बहुत rarely कुछ मन में उदय हुआ, तुरंत उन्होंने उसके कर लिया तो जीवन भर खत्म है. But does it happen in our case? The moment you satisfy, immediately it sows the beach or the seed for the next onslaught of desire. That's what happens. People who are criminals and others, once they do it, do they keep quiet? Second time, third time, fourth time, any number of times. So there is a big difference. He gave the same advice to women devotees as he did to men, an enkindled love for God in their hearts as well. The reader will understand if we narrate an incident that illustrates the master's behavior. जब पुरुषों के लिए बोलते बोलते थे कामिनी कांचन, और महिला के बोलते थे कामा कांचन, because kamani or kama essentially represents desire for lust or the bhoga of the worst kind. And kanchan means desire for money or wealth. So you see, these are the desire for bhoga and the desire for wealth or money. These are the things that drive us away from God. So you should always be careful about that. And if you slowly analyze, all these desires ultimately lead to one or the other. The basic foundation is bhoga and desire for money, kamani kanchan. All the other things you will find in one way or other linked to all this. आपको कुछ मकान की बहुत ही ये बहुत अच्छा मकान. What is behind that? Is money. When you have more money, you can have more अच्छा मकान. So naturally, everything will boil down to one or the other. Whether it's bhoga or the paisa, the money, these are the two things that move us around in this world. Whoever went to the master, whether male or female, was deeply attracted by his amiability, courteous behavior, and wonderful, unselfish, pure love. They were anxious to see him again whenever there was an opportunity. Not only did they themselves visit the master frequently, but they also make special efforts to bring their acquaintance to him so that they also could enjoy pure bliss in his company. खुद तो एक बार मिलने में इतना मन में उनका प्यार जन्म लेता था, फिर दोबारा तीसरी बार चौथी बार आने का मन करता था. नॉट मीन दैट अपना अपना कोई बहुत नजदीकी जो भी है, मित्र भी हो, जो भी हो, सबको भी ले आते थे. ब्रिंग एवरीबडी सो दैट दे आल्सो बेनिफिट फ्रॉम द मास्टर्स कंपनी. वन आफ्टरनून one of the women devotees we knew went to visit the master Dakshineshwar with her stepsister and that woman's sister-in-law. ये तीनों के एक महिला किया था, उनका कोई भगिन, दूर संपर्क के भगिन होते थे, and the sister-in-law of that lady, the three. After bowing down, they took their seats. The master then inquired about their welfare and began to talk about the goal of human life to love God. जीवन का उद्देश्य क्या है? भगवान के प्रति प्यार और प्रेम. Is it easy to take refuge in God? Inscrutable are the workings of Mahamaya, the great enchantress. तो भगवान का चरण में शरण लेना क्या सहज है? माया हजार तरीका फंसाती है हम लोग का. Does she free anyone easily? A person who has no relatives, she entangles in the world with a pet cat. कोई जगत पे कोई नहीं है, कहाँ से एक बिल्ली पकड़ के ले आते हैं, उसके साथ ही जीवन चलता है, खत्म हुआ है खत्म. The poor person collects fish and milk from here and there and says, "What can I do?" The cat won't eat anything but fish and milk. उसके खाना जुगाड़ करने के लिए उसका जिंदगी भर चला जाता है समय. Take for example an aristocratic family in which the women have lost their husbands and children. All are gone except a few widows who live on as if they had cheated death. मृत्यु के धोखा देके ये विधवा लोग बैठ रहती है, सब चले गए. The husband, sons, etc. are gone. Only these vidavas are left. Can they not devote their time completely to God? No, they won't. One part of their house has collapsed. Another part is falling to ruin. Banyan saplings and some spinach have grown on the roof. The widows cook curry with that spinach and continue their household life. What for? Why do they not call on God? Is indeed the time for them to take refuge in Him, but they won't do it. पूरी तरह सब छोड़ फोड़ के तीव्र साधन करने की समय है, बट नहीं करेंगे. इधर उधर कटर कटर करते रहते हैं ताकि समय उसमें जाए. Again, perhaps a woman has lost her husband shortly after the wedding. She is now a young widow. Let her call on God, but she will not do it. She becomes a caretaker of her brother's household. Her hair is braided and secured in a bun on the top of her head, and a bunch of keys hang from a corner of the cloth thrown over her shoulder. कितना ठाकुर देखा हो तो कहा नहीं गए. डिक्शनरी से बाहर नहीं, ये इतना परफेक्ट डिस्क्रिप्शन, कैसे देखने के लिए, कैसी साड़ी पहनते हैं, कैसी बाल बनती है उसका, और कैसी चाबी सब कपड़ा में कोने में बांध के कैसे रखती है। एवरी टिपिकल बंगाली विडो, बाल विधवा है, लेकिन सारे संसार का जिम्मेवारी ले लिया खुद ही, अपना भाई का सब कुल्ला, मेरे बिना भाई तो खाना भी खा नहीं सकते, ऐसे बोलते रहते, यू कैन नॉट ईट विदाउट मी, सब अस्यूम नो वन वांट्स। Then, all the neighbors are frightened at the very sight of that monstrous woman. She tells everybody, my brother can't even have a meal if I'm not present. मेरे बिना वो खाना भी बिल्कुल नहीं खा सकता. What a wretched woman. Why don't you see what has happened to you? What has, क्या हुआ? सब तो चला गया, तुम्हारा क्या है जिंदगी में? क्यों भगवान के नाम क्यों नहीं पुकारते हो? So people often complain, even in monastery, मेरा समय नहीं है, यही नहीं है. नहीं, समय सबको पास है. जितने भी व्यस्त मानुष भी जीवन में, including मोदी जी, maybe 12 to 14 hours is the maximum work one might do. वो भी not even 1% of the world do that amount of work. काफी तो फिर समय है, मन चाहिए. It's not the question of time. You have the mind to do it. You must feel joy in doing it. साधन करके आपका आनंद मिल रहा है तो जरूर करेंगे. If it is only a routine, जबरदस्ती करना है, so naturally कभी कभी छूट जाता है. क्यों? नहीं, समय नहीं है, दूसरा काम में कोई आ गया. So यहाँ ऐसे जैसे महाराज बोल रहे हैं, one of the ladies was exactly like that. तो sister in law आई थी, she was such a बाल विधवा who had completely taken care of the brother's family. Exactly उनका जो पूरा ठाकुर बता दिया. All often he used to teach that way. जो सामने है का सब पता था, ये क्या है, क्या कर रही है. Without taking the name, simply he would say. He was meeting her for the first time. वो पहली बार आई थी मिलने के लिए, ऐसे नहीं वो जानते थे ठाकुर. What a mysterious coincidence. The sister-in-law of the devotee's stepsister, who had met the master for the first time on that day, was indeed such a caretaker in her brother's household. वो महिला वैसे ही थी, अपना भाई के परिवार में खुद ही सब संभालती थी. बोलती थी, मेरे बिना भाई खाना नहीं खा सकता. Nobody had told the master about this beforehand, but in the course of conversation, the master referred to that example in order to explain the powerful influence of desire and to describe the infinite layers of desire in the human mind. Those words of the master penetrated deeply into that woman's mind. Listening to those examples, the stepsister nudged the devotee and whispered, Sister, how strange! Why has the master spoken those words today? How will my sister-in-law react? Our acquaintance replied, What can we do? It is the master's will. No one has prompted him. उसके साथ जो आए थे, अरे ऐसे से बोल रहे हैं, वो क्या बोलेगा, उनका कैसा पता हुआ, हम लोग तो कुछ नहीं बोले. And the devotee said, No, we can't help it. He will say like that suddenly. Whatever he knows, he will say, no one can control him. जो होना होने दो, क्या करेंगे, बुरा मानेंगे, मानने दो. What can be done? Because we have not told him. Suddenly on his own he has spoken. What can be done? If it is true, she has to face the music. When one studies human nature, it becomes obvious that the higher a person's mind rises, the more intense the pain caused by such desires. आपका, see, the moment you advance a little in spiritual life, you become sensitive to many things. आपका बातचीत में एक मृदुता, you will become softer when you speak. You can't listen to harsh shouting and things like that. You'll always be calm and subdued. So all those qualities develop because the mind has become so sensitive. In a small sound, I think somewhere, Rajamara, someone said, I feel as if somebody is banging with a hammer. इतना उनका दर्द हो रहा था. Because the mind was so quiet. The quieter the mind becomes, more you'll find it difficult to adjust to this कोई लोग आए कहीं यहाँ चिल्ला रहे हैं, यहाँ और वहां भी खाना कर, यहाँ भी बात कर रहे हैं, बट इफ यू आर लिटिल रिफाइंड यू कांट डू इट। आपका सब टिक टाक करके देने नहीं तो खाना ही नहीं खा पाएंगे आप। सो he says the more we become advanced, subtler, the more is the pain we feel due to desire. कोई ऐसी कोई वासना से ऐसा कुछ मन में आया, and such a person feels terribly bad. ऐसा क्यों हुआ? A person who has committed theft, deceit, or adultery many times can repeat those acts without suffering any pangs of guilt. कोई चोरी किया, बदमाश किया, कुछ किया, such people बहुत बार करते रहते हैं। अभी जेल से निकाला, फिर जाके किया, फिर जेल में हुआ, फिर वापस आया, फिर किया, करते रहते हैं ना। Because their minds are not sensitive, इतना सटल नहीं है, इतना ग्रॉस है, भौतिक है, स्थूल है। So naturally they don't feel that pain. Although throughout their lives avatars refuse to indulge in the enjoyment of gross sensual objects, they fight against subtle desires the same as the rest of us. So अवतार उनके बारे में ये बता रहे हैं ठाकुर। But a noble and high-minded person feels terribly guilty and suffers from great distress when merely thinking of those heinous acts. साधारण जो बदमाश है, गुंडा है, वो चोरी किया, उनका कुछ भी असर नहीं पड़ता है। चोरी के बाद जेल किया, वापस आया, फिर करता है। But he is a very advanced person or a spiritual giant like an avatara, करनी तो दूरी बात है, मन में सोच भी आया तो इतना तकलीफ होता था, लगा दे फील सच टेरिबल पेन you can't even explain. That's why he said they refused to, although throughout their lives avatars refused to indulge in the enjoyment of gross sensual objects, they fight against subtle desires the same as the rest of it. साधारण स्थूल अवस्था में कोई शारीरिक ऐसा कोई कुछ भोग वस्तु का भोग करना, एनी वे, any enjoyment, physical enjoyment of the bhoga, any participation never happens in their life. लेकिन मन ही मन कोई वृत्ति भी उठ जाए, even if there is a rising of a vritti in the mind, they feel so terribly bad about it. They suffer intense pain. मेरे मन में ऐसा विचार कैसे आया, क्यों आया? So it's very, very important. So he says, those horrible images of desire that arise in their minds cause them distress 1,000 times greater than that which we suffer. This they frankly admit. हम लोग का मन में कोई ऐसा विचार आया जो तकलीफ होता है, उसके 1,000 गुण, 1,000 times more they feel the terrible pain because any desire has arisen in their mind. Therefore, how can we say that their struggles to withdraw the senses from sense objects are mere feigning? So there's an understanding also that when avatars they refrain from that, we think that उनका ये सब दिखावा है, ऐसा कुछ सचमुच नहीं है. The sufferings we see, the pangs they feel when they are in the grip of desires. साधारण लोग सोचते हैं, ठाकुर ये the disciple used to say, अरे you are simply pretending, this cancer and all is nothing. You go and tell mother and one day you will be all right. With your own mind you can become all right in no time. ऐसे ऐसे बोलते थे, you are simply बहाना बनाते हैं, कुछ भी नहीं है आपका. That's what they used to say. So in the same way he says, 1,000 times greater we suffer. Therefore, how we can say that the struggle to withdraw the senses from sense objects are mere feigning? ऐसे कोई चीज से उनका मन के उठा के ले आना सिर्फ दिखावा नहीं है, सचमुच मन ही मन बहुत स्ट्रगल करके ये भी कर पाते हैं. A reader who is well versed in the scriptures may object in the following manner: how can I accept your statement? In the introduction to his commentary on the Gita, Shankara, the paragon of non-dualism, states in conviction with Krishna's human birth, God is in reality unborn, unchanging, the Lord of all created beings, and by nature eternal, pure, illumined, and free. But he is seen as though born, as though endowed with body through his own Maya power for the benefit of humanity. When the great Shankara himself says this, how can your statement hold true? महाराज इसमें ना सारे डिस्कशन वैसे ही किया, उन्होंने खुद पूर्व पक्ष का पक्ष ले लिया. He himself takes the opposite view and states, what is your answer to this? He himself is asking, there is no other opposition there. So he raises questions from all angles so that our understanding is very clear. So he is asking, see in the scriptures they say, यहाँ तो बता रहे हैं ना, he is saying that the avatars when they handle these desires etc which are in a subtle form, not the gross form, he says they are really struggling. जैसे आप और मैं जैसे संग्राम कर रहा हूँ, प्रयास कर रहा हूँ, लड़ रहा हूँ, this he says avatars also have to fight and overcome all that. But he says the scriptures don't say like that. Because गीता में शंकर भाष्य जो गीता भाष्य शंकराचार्य का, उसमें बिगिनिंग है, उन्होंने क्लियरली लिखा, सी गॉड इन रियलिटी अजर अमर है, उसके कोई जन्म नहीं है, मरण नहीं है, मृत्यु नहीं है, बुढ़ापन नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है. क्यों? वहां तो कोई ऐसा कोई होता ही नहीं है. इज ऑल दिस ओनली वन, इज ओनली वन अनडिवाइडेड यूनिटरी कॉन्शियसनेस which is prevailing everywhere. So in the normal sense there is nothing like God. Even if you talk of God as Brahman, then there is no birth, death, or old age or anything. But here he says, Shankara gives a concession. But he is, the Shankara here he says, he is as if जैसे भी वो अजर है, अमर है, there is no old age or anything for him, there is no जरा मरण व्याधि कुछ भी नहीं है. He says जात इव, as if he was born. गीता में तो भगवान बोलते ना, प्रकृति स्वाम अधिष्ठाय संभवामी आत्म माया, अपना माया से अनसंभव है. नहीं तो अदरवाइज there is, you cannot explain how the Brahman has become world, how God exists, what is the advent of God and avatara. संभवामी आत्म माया, अपना माया के माध्यम में अपना माया पकड़ के वो आते हैं, अदरवाइज आने का संभव नहीं है. या भी वो कह रहे हैं as though born, as though endowed with body, his own maya power for the benefit of humanity. लोक संग्रहार्थ, मनुष्य कल्याण के लिए अपना माया से उन्होंने एक शरीर धारण करके, शरीर धारण किया ऐसा लग रहा है, सचमुच नहीं है. जन्म लिया ऐसा लग रहा है, जन्म नहीं है. जात इव. So that is how he explains. Then how can your statement be true? आप तो बोल रहे हैं सचमुच लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, हो नहीं सकता है, ये शंकराचार्य के भाष्य है. What do you say to that? So Maharaj will discuss that also. He says, we say that what Shankara has said is true, but still have sufficient support for our position. So Shankara, सब मानते थे, we believe in Shankara, we worship him also. बोले हाँ महाराज जो शंकराचार्य जो बोल रहे हैं वो तो सच है, लेकिन हम लोग जो बोल रहे हैं उसमें भी पर्याप्त हम लोग को प्रमाण है. क्या है? In order to understand Shankara, you must remember that just as he considers God to be only seen, to be endowed with name and form, so he regards as equally false that you and every object and every being in this world are endowed with name and form. So शंकराचार्य समझने के लिए आपका उनका मूल सिद्धांत क्या क्या उसके बारे में थोड़ा समझना चाहिए. What is his मूल सिद्धांत? Just as he says, God are only apparent name and form. उनका नाम रूप एक कल्पना है, एक इमेजिनेशन है, एक सोच है, सचमुच ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, कोई सत्यता नहीं है, इसके अंदर कोई सत्यता नहीं है, ये वो कहते हैं. So he says in the same way about you, me also. He does not say that you are real, the world is real, God alone is imaginary. No. Just as in the case of God also he says he is Ajara, Amara, etc. In the case of you, me, and also, he says the same thing. So he only accepts the position that there is one Chaitanya consciousness that is pervading in and through. Not only pervading, there's the only thing, there's nothing else. So in that case, just as the God, etc., are relegated to second place, you and me also are in the same position. So there is only one Brahman. So that is a totally different background. So he regards equally false that you and every other object and everything in the world are endowed with name and form. हम सब में भी ये नाम रूप पकड़ के ऐसे से दिखाते हैं, सचमुच एक चैतन्य छोड़ के कुछ भी नहीं. Therefore, he considered the whole world to be an illusory superimposition of Brahma. जगत तो माया समझते हैं, ब्रह्म के ऊपर जो उनका हम लोग तोपे में is not there in reality. Only through the Maya it appears. Therefore, we can understand Shankara's conclusion only accept both his statements together. It is not his intent to say that an avatar's incarnation and the experience of present pain are unreal, even though those sensations are real to us. If we accept our perceptions and feelings as real, we must also accept those of avatar as real. So our previous statements still stands. So उन्होंने क्या बोल रहे हैं, सारे जगत मिथ्या हो, सारे जगत माया हो, ब्रह्म के ऊपर जो एक आवरण हो, उसके ऊपर एक लगे हुए कुछ चीज हो, इसके कोई असली चीज कुछ भी नहीं है, then you, me and everything, we're all part of that maya only. So हम लोग का भी जो सुख दुख जो हो रहा है, whatever experiences we get in terms of suffering etc., are all only imaginary. So if this is not real, then अवतार का भी रियल नहीं है. लेकिन खुद का आप रियल मानते हो, भगवान का भी रियल मानना है. So he says, if you think that you are real, you are born, you are suffering, you are having pain, etc., if you accept that, you also have to accept the position. Avatars also suffer that. But if you think, no, मैं ब्रह्म हूँ, मेरा कुछ भी नहीं है, मेरा जन्म नहीं है, मरण नहीं है, शरीर नहीं है, मन नहीं है, रूप नहीं है, नाम नहीं, कुछ नहीं, सब दिखावा है, then you can say the pain and sufferings of avatar also are not real, they are only imaginary. So then he gives another, from another standpoint, he explains this idea that we will take up next because very difficult topic. We can't do it so quickly. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. मैं एक चीज बताना चाहता हूँ. What is next week is so. First of all, I wish all of you a very happy Deepavali. And next week, 19th, we shall have, because I think World Cup is only in the afternoon. All of you can certainly attend. So we shall have a next class on next Sunday, Gita class. Sorry, this month on 18th there is nothing. So 18th we can have this class.